so I've got the Chevy Colorado up on just some stands here to make it easier to crawl underneath the truck. And what I'm going to try is some Instant Shudder Fixx. Now, if you're familiar with this model of Colorado, this is a 2017, around this year range with the 8-speed transmission. They all had the TSB, or the recall for the transmission fluid being bad, basically being soaking up water and causing transmission shudder. And so this one had that shudder. It was really bad before the recall was done, and then the recall was done and it was pretty much gone. And that was probably 30,000 miles. It's at about 96,000 miles now, and the shudder has just started to come back. It's not as bad, it's lighter, but it is way more frequent. So I'm gonna see if this Instant Shudder Fixx does anything. I've heard good things about the Shudder Fixx, and basically what the Shudder Fixx will tell you is if you've got a liquid problem or if you are looking at an actual mechanical problem. These transmissions are unfortunately known for both. So basically, if the Shudder Fixx works, or if it even makes it a little bit better, a little bit more drivable, smooth, then you know you've got just a liquid problem. You don't have a mechanical problem in the transmission, which is good. At that point, you may want to take the time, money, and effort to actually drop the transmission oil pan and do a fluid change. Not a complete flush, but just a change you can do at home. And if you really wanted to, you could just pay a dealer. This is super easy. Really almost no tools required. All I've got here is a pair of scissors to cut open the top on that, and a pair of needle nose pliers to basically just pull the little plug up, some flashlights and some gloves just for lighting under there. All right, so I'll bring you under there, show you how to pop off the fill cap and pour in the Shudder Fixx. Again, they say that the Shudder Fixx, you can add this amount of fluid is not going to alter the level of your transmission fluid enough to cause any issues. So if you want to just pour this in without checking the level, it should be fine. It's just such a small amount of fluid, it's not going to make a huge difference. It just adds the additive package back into your transmission fluid that has gone away over time. And if I bring you under the truck here, you can see we've got the exhaust and the oil pan right there. So here we've got exhaust, and here's the oil pan, and the plug is right around up here. And you can get that plug out with needle nose pliers. It's just plastic. If you were going to actually change the fluid and drop the oil pan, change the filter, that takes tools. You have to undo some of the basically exhaust bolts on both sides, undo this mounting bracket over here as well. So really, this is, to me, it's like $12 for this. It's a quick check. Just see if you've got a fluid problem or if you've got a bigger issue. If you've got a bigger issue, if you've got something wrong with your torque converter, actually mechanically, then, and if this doesn't do anything, it's almost not even worth trying to do the fluid change yourself. All right, truck here, looking at the transmission oil pan, and you can kind of see right there, there is a black plug right here. And you should be able to just pull it out by hand. I've got some pliers if I can't. I've also got a catch pan down here. I saw a video, another video on these transmissions about doing the replacement, and as soon as they pulled their plug out, it spilled a ton of oil out. Their transmission was overfilled. This should not spill any fluid. So we're back under the Colorado here. Now, when I opened up my plug, a bunch of transmission fluid came out, and really it really shouldn't have any coming out. But if you've got a little splash from just what was on the plug from when it was last running, that's not a big deal. But mine was really dripping out, so I had to come over here and buy this plug right here. By this tag, you can see basically this is your level check on these models, on the 8-speed. And what you do is, while the engine is running at or above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, with the engine running again, car on, engine running, you take this bolt out and you let it just poured out. Tons of transmission fluid came out. This was apparently common. I think I've seen other people who had the TSB done, basically the recall. I don't know. I think, however, they ended up flushing the systems for that recall, that they overfilled it a little bit. So I got the level back down to the appropriate amount. Once it just barely starts dripping out, that's correct with the engine running. And when you do that, if you already pulled out your plug over here, make sure that you put the plug back in when you're running the motor to do this. So now, pretty simple. All we're gonna do is we're gonna take this Instant Transmission Shudder Fixx, snip that top right there, and then bring it over the top of this exhaust and into the fill plug right there. It's nice that this, you just kind of squirt it out. You cut a little tip off there, and that's that. Then we'll put the plug back in and drive it a couple of miles to see what happens. Squeeze that out. All right, so if you have one of these transmissions, you know that the shuddering happens really at low RPM while going uphill when the transmission's under a lot of load. And seems like the Instant Shudder Fixx has completely gotten rid of that. I've been driving the truck now for probably a week, 2 weeks after putting the Shudder Fixx in, and I haven't had any shudders, even in times in areas where I know that I used to have shudders. Basically, it would happen every single time I would go up a certain hill headed to work. But right now, we got a lot of up and downhill, we got a lot of stop and go, and we don't have any shuddering anymore. Jolene, you think it's fixed? I think so. Now again, what this tells me really is that I've got a fluid problem, not a mechanical problem. So I will pretty much just go ahead and change the transmission fluid, drop the pan, change the fluid, change the filter, and that should do a lot of good for the transmission and should resolve all of the issues. Again, it hasn't shuddered since I put the Instant Shudder Fixx in there, and surprisingly, it was actually instant, like it says.